Hey, how's it going? Today is 26th of August, Monday, and we are taking a look at the market, what kind of opportunities we can find, all articles that should be important, right? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the press releases that happened recently. That would be Telegram messaging app. Myself, I'm not using. Perhaps I should be using it. I'm even considering using some of the other apps compared to ones that I'm using right now, since a lot of issues with privacy that myself I do have with some of the messaging app providers. Most of those, there isn't that many that I know of, right? So perhaps worth taking a look at this, I guess, and we can potentially do marketing, I guess. But either way, I'm not using it as of now. I think I have it, but I'm not using it. Telegram messaging app CEO been arrested in France. Something that happened recently on yesterday, 25th. So let's take a look at it and see what information we can find, right? If we could reflect on where we are on the calendar, that would be week 156 that we just finished. Overall, it was a great week. I'd done a lot of sales calls, so that's what I was focusing on, as well as week 157 and Monday, 26th. That's where we are today. We're gonna be focusing a lot on sales and closing sales. Fishing week while taking a look at government's contracts. Let's preface this article by taking a look at a very famous quote. Someone, a man from Germany, right, who was a pastor, right? He mentioned this quote first about censorship and how they would come after the people and who do not censor some of the content up there. That would they might come for artists, they might come for journalists, activists, and later they come for me, right? So I thought that's a good thing to remember. Then take a look at the history, and from there we can take a look at some other instance where France, for whatever reason, or France government was taking a look at how to censor what content is up there and other platforms, right? Let's progress and take a look at other censorships, right? That would be myself, I have noticed some instance perhaps 2 years ago, then there was a lot of influencers coming from some of the governments in Africa and speaking out against or sharing their own understanding, right, of what's happening in Africa, right? And from that point, I think there was a lot of announcements made that some of those people should be removed or censored, right, on the different platforms. So that's my own understanding how things have started. From there, I was taking a look at what information I might be able to find online. But then searching for things, sometimes particular things would be sent to me. If that makes sense. There isn't few things that I can Google and find everything what I wanted to. Some of the things would to be sent to me by other censors within governments like US. So what US would send it to me, am I able to find, right? Some articles are not necessarily be able to find, right? But that's a different issue either way. So Rumble Video Service turned off France over the ban to censor Russian media. They say it's Russian media. I don't know. I don't know. So I think they have full license for a lot of governments, right? There are no media channels. So that's just one of those articles. And these articles that I'm looking to find that to be potentially US. So it's one of the biggest censors up there. Speaking out, that would be Rumble revealed censorship demand from surprising list of countries as CEO to testify of free speech threats. Some of those governments would include France, Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, right? Just and again they questioning you, I guess, which is not it can be a good thing, but it's 2024, so very recent, right? But either way, so I haven't read this article. I don't know what's happening with Telegram, right? I don't know. I have no clue. It's a new information. I'm looking to read it, but I don't know. Okay, let's take a look at what kind of information we gonna be taking a look at within this article. Again, this article will be published by US, so not necessarily holding a lot of hopes that there's gonna be reflection of what's really happening, what you're doing. So there is the name of the person is CEO is arrested in airport that would be in France. Police source Telegram says Durov has nothing to hide. So himself, so potentially, what France did previously, they would limit some of the app usages. So they just limit or ban those apps in France. It's perfect. So this is what they've done previously. So why they would arrest this CEO? What you doing? France and EU citizenship. So okay. So he has France citizenship. Perhaps that might make things a little bit more complex. Hey, let's take a look at a documentary about Telegram very recently, perhaps 4 or 5 months ago, something that was released. And there's always issue. There's always issue with what people are doing on your platforms, right? Previously, I think this platform was operating in Russia, so they had to move from Russia to UAV, right? Uh, Russia says Durov's rights should be respected. Russia lawmakers' freedom of speech is dead in Europe. Okay, okay. So there might be some information if I have interesting information of them. I don't know. Let's take a look at this article. We can take a look at this article now, right? That would be this name of the CEO. I don't know. Perhaps we're not shedding the best light of what's happening on his platforms. Let's perhaps keep it to CEO. CEO, the Russian of the Telegram, the Russian born billionaire found that owner of the Telegram messaging app was arrested in it's one of the towns in France, airport outside Paris, shortly after landing on the private jet late on Saturday at no place in custody, free sources told Reuters. So potentially this information is accurate, potentially. The rest of the 39-year-old knowledge billionaire prompted on Sunday a warning from Moscow and all Paris that should be accounted his rights and criticized from other tech billionaires, right, of what's happening currently in Europe on free speech and other areas, right? Perhaps more people and more entrepreneurs should consider starting their own apps, right? If there are any takeaways. There was no official confirmation from France at the arrest, but two French police sources and one of the Russian sources spoke on conditions. Persons spoken on conditions of anonymity said that Durov was arrested shortly after arriving at private jet from Azerbaijan. Right? One of the two French police sources said that the head of the jet arrival police have spotted. He was on the passenger list and moved to arrest him because he was subject to arrest warrant in France, right? As well as so perhaps there's a lot of speculations of everything that's happening, right? Russia, I'll skip some information since there might be statements made by people. I know it might be people. I haven't read it by the way, but most likely people and myself might perhaps we're gonna get political, which or what. One of those things that I'm not looking for, not to get political. Russian lawmakers, okay, there's another person who spent 15 months in U.S. prison for acting on registered Russian agent. Duro is political prisoner, a victim of which hunt by the rest. Oh, okay, okay. So there's still statements made, I guess. Telegram, based in Dubai, was founded by the tech billionaire who left Russia in 2014. So I know about this part. So there was a lot of issues and public unrest and how the platform was used. So he had to move, right? He refused to comply with the demand to shut down opposition communities on his at the time social media platform, which has sold or been sold, right? Like encrypted applications, which close to 1 billion users, it particularly influencing Russia, Ukraine, and all the publics of the former Soviet Union. It has ranked as one of the major social media platforms after. Okay. So there are options available of different platforms out there, and we're not looking to promote any of those other than perhaps other people might be considering starting their own platforms, right? As well as the net worth of this individual is close to 15.5 billion, but that dollars, right? So as of now, perhaps that's the only thing what we do know. The way how this article and all information has been presented, again, they have a very particular narrative, and this information that will be presented by U.S. government, and that's the U.S. pushing their own agenda, right? No one's even talking about something that was happening in perhaps different regions in Africa and all. How information currently being shared on what platforms, and no one's talking about it, which I think is one of the major concerns for France, right? So perhaps we need to sit down and have a chat. What you doing? What is U.S. narrative? We can understand by reading this article what is U.S. narrative and how to twist and turn some of these things, right? Even though this article started by taking a look at hard data and what we do know, right? But I'm not looking to push any particular narrative other than censorship and perhaps it's ongoing thing. So I was taking a look at an example of Rumble CEO. So perhaps there is a lot of a lot of pushback as of now from France coming about Rumble, and there isn't pushback about other platforms, if that makes sense. As well as a pushing narrative about Russia and or other instance of war going on, right, with other governments. So I'm not looking to read any of that information. So it's not necessarily a good thing and everything what's happening, right? To close this article, I thought that we can reflect on the history, so that would be important, and how some of the governments are losing potentially control of narrative, control of potentially artists, and how information has been shared, as well as activists and overall people who will speak out, right? So once governments or larger governments, without naming particular names, would begin losing those narratives, and they would like to control those narratives, we're gonna see this and more similar things, right? Thanks for watching. See you next one.